One study called these among the most segregated suburbs in America. Suburbs created by white flight and black rage. July 1967, the worst race riot in U.S. history. By the time it was over, 43 were dead and hundreds were hurt. Blacks were angry. Whites were terrified. Whites like Norm Bittner, who moved to the suburbs the year of the riot.
I went to school with coloreds. I didn't want my wife being around coloreds.
Why?
Who wants them next to them? Everybody sees what they've done to Detroit. The white families have moved out of Detroit and left Detroit to the coloreds.
What if a black family moved in next door to you here in Warren?
The thing is today, suppose one family moves in, then another, then another. What do you have? Prostitution, drugs, gang fights, gangs moving in. Who needs this?
That's what many white suburbanites told us, although like Bittner, they deny they're racist. They see Detroit as alien, threatening, a place they want no part of.
Blacks in Detroit exercise more power than blacks anywhere in any city in the United States. And we refused in the city of Detroit to kiss their behinds.
That scares the white establishment.
Oh, I think it does. They resent it. There ain't no respectful way for a black to act in America.
Young's contempt for the white suburbs has been a key part of his political success. Once, when the mayor was asked about enforcing gun control, he replied,
I'll be damned if I'm going to let them collect guns in the city of Detroit while we're surrounded by hostile suburbs.
To the mayor, it's quite simply us versus them. But there isn't complete harmony on that point. Reverend Jim Holley is one of Detroit's most outspoken ministers. He blames whites for deserting Detroit, but he says the mayor's hostility has kept them away.
Whites have the money, blacks have the political power. The political power and the money have not been on the same track in the last 17 years. And as a result, you know, our city is falling apart.
And it has, although there are still signs of life. New buildings under construction downtown, new developments rising on the riverfront, the lavishly restored Fox Theater, and yes, even some good neighborhoods. It's a rare sight, blacks and whites dancing together, dining together. We're at a community dinner in North Rosedale Park. Here is a part of Detroit that might surprise you.
Where everybody looks out for each other and where people care for their property and where the property value is actually quite high.
Brenda Cann is a banker, her husband Bruce a computer analyst. They can afford to raise their children in the suburbs, but they chose to stay in the city.
We are not going to run from the crime and the drugs and the negatives. We're going to stay here and fight.
Still, there are reports of an ominous new trend, black flight. Middle-class blacks are moving out too, leaving Detroit to the underclass.
A house was here at one time. We run all the way through here, man.
We went for a walk with Alphonse Davis, who showed us the block in central Detroit where he grew up.
There used to be a nice little community where everybody could just come and just chill out. Didn't have to worry about nothing, you know what I'm saying?
What happened?
Times, man, everybody moved out. Everybody moved out.
Alphonse was born the year of the riot, raised without a father, dropped out of high school. He used to deal drugs, says he's quit and needs a job.
The jobs that I be looking for, I don't want no restaurant job. You know, that's beneath me.
What do you mean beneath you? I mean, what's wrong with working in a restaurant?
$3.85. What the hell is that? That ain't enough to spit on.
Detroit has thousands like Alphonse, young men without any direction, products of what many see as a moral collapse in the ghetto.
Racism has played a tremendous part in terms of setting Detroit back. But at the same time, I think it's only fair that no white man in the world can do as much to us in the city of Detroit that we've done to ourselves.
Has there been a failure of black leadership? Well, Coleman Young's credibility has been hurt by a series of scandals. The latest involves charges that his police chief stole from a fund set up for undercover drug buys.
Look, man, I have been hounded for 10 goddamn years. with allegations, rumors, and not one concrete charge. Now, after 10 years, you get tired of that bull.
But you're police chief?
I wouldn't give a who it is. It's an investigation. There have been no findings.
A federal grand jury is also looking into allegations that Young, a longtime black activist, had a secret business that sold Krugerrands, the gold coins that symbolize South African apartheid. We tried to bring that up, but the mayor cut us short.
You came in here to do a chop job, obviously,
No, I didn't.
and that's what you've done.
That's not true.
Oh, bull.
But don't you
Look,
think...
I'm through now. Let's.
Why do you get so angry? Why do you get so defensive?
I'm not defensive. I am angry. I'd be a goddamn fool to discuss with you on public television an allegation, which would be the same as taking a goddamn stand. And who the you think you are to come in here and cross-examine me?
Well, it's not a cross-examination.
Well, you sure the hell isn't.
It's a question, and a valid question.
You're out of line. And as far as I'm concerned, the interview's concluded.
As we said, the mayor doesn't like criticism, and he's mighty unhappy with this new book about Detroit. There's been a storm of controversy here over Devil's Night and its grim descriptions of the city. The author, Zev Hefetz, told us his is a cautionary tale.
Detroit, in many ways, has always been an experimental city. Detroit was the first place to really industrialize in a modern way. It was the first city, really, where unions became a powerful factor. It was the first city to feel the pinch of Japanese and other foreign competition. To a large extent, what's happened in Detroit has happened 10 or 15 or 20 years later in other American cities.
Detroit is a warning, if anybody's listening. A year after the riot, a presidential commission predicted that America was heading toward a sort of reverse apartheid, poor black cities surrounded by rich white suburbs. This is the future they warned us about. And as for Detroit's future, well, some experts predict another 200,000 gone by the end of the decade. By then, the only people who haven't left Detroit may be those who can't. Which made us think back to Gloria G. She told us that since her son was murdered, she'd wanted to get out of town.
But now I'll find it a little difficult to kind of leave it because my baby is buried here. And I want to stay around to keep flowers on his grave. I want to stay here and keep flowers on his grave.
Children dead, homes abandoned, hopes dashed. You don't need to come here on Devil's Night to see that Detroit is burning.
I miss you, Quentin. We all miss you. Such a baby. Still a baby. Oh, God.
One fact that struck us during the preparation of this story is how much the population of Detroit is shrinking, from 2 million in the 50s to about 970,000 people today, figures which come from the latest census count and are being challenged by the city. But if they prove to be accurate, they'll almost certainly mean big financial losses, additional big financial losses for Detroit.
Coming up, creating Murphy Brown.
So, what did you want to